and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo, and we've got a very special session today. We've got two special guests, not one, but two, which we'll introduce you into in a minute. But yes, lovely to see you all. Yeah, we're looking forward to the next 30 minutes. James, so would you like to introduce our guests and then hopefully
very
they'll
special
introduce
guests
themselves?
indeed. Yeah. So yes, today we're delighted to be joined by Christopher Slade and Simon Grant of Executive Integrity, and they're going to sort of talk us through how they've changed the way they do business. And I'm hoping it's going to be a fascinating story for those of you who are watching and listening, just so that you can sort of compare what they've done with what you might like to do. So Simon, Chris, welcome. Why don't you just give us an introduction to who you are, where you've come from? Sounds like Cilla Black.
I can kick off. So I'm Simon Grant. I'm one of the co-founders of Executive Integrity, of course. Yeah, we started the business in 2020. So we're just gone past our second year anniversary, sorry. We focus very much on the renewable energy and the maritime industries, which are, by maritime particularly, very, very niche on a global basis.
Yeah, Chris, do you want to sort of say who you are, even though we know who you are?
Yep, I'm the other co-founder of Executive Integrity. I've worked alongside Simon for 10 years now. We worked in our old organisation for 8 years before setting up Executive Integrity, and it's gone from strength in those 2 years together. So much of that has been down to iIntro. Good.
Well, we'll come back to that later. We don't sort of overplug ourselves. But I think what's really nice is that you two guys are experienced recruiters. And the part of the story that I really sort of quite like is the fact that you've been in recruitment a number of times, and then in the midst of COVID, you decide to set up your own business. So why don't you tell us how that story came about? I'm sure was it you decided in COVID, or was it something that just happened? So why don't you give us the chronology of that one?
No, I think we did. It was definitely before COVID. I think Chris and I worked together, as Chris said. It were 10 years now, but we're at that 8-year point. We actually started our old business about a month apart, sat next to each other, and we joined recruitment in our very late 20s. So Chris was the younger one, and 28, and I was 29. And I think once you kind of get to that age, you kind of come into recruitment at a later stage, you start to appreciate the different nuances that you would when you're 21 years old. And we were very hardworking. We really took pride in what we did. And over that time, we were kind of sat there and thinking, getting to our mid-30s and thinking, the money's great, but it's those other things that really matter. And I think what was really important to Chris and I is that real sense of purpose. And we were looking for that purpose in our everyday work. And unfortunately, you work for a big company, they're very successful, not to knock anything they do, what they've done worked really well for them, but it didn't work for us anymore. So we are really looking for something more around the culture, around the values, around the principles. We really were focused on the environmental aspects of the planet, to be honest with you, and what more could be done in that aspect. And we just started to have our own ideas. We almost generated a culture within a different culture. We were building an infrastructure of a team within a company infrastructure, which is not going to last forever. So let's be honest. For us to try to turn from there. Sorry, my phone's going to. But to start from there, I'll let Chris continue.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the phone was going. Yes. So we wanted to put our people and the planet above profit. So that's one of our main visions and values as an organisation. So we do things quite differently. So for every placement, we plant a tree for the client and the candidate, which is really unique. And we also donate a proportion of our profits to Renewable World, which help poverty-stricken communities. So that's where the sense of purpose come from. And then we also wanted to invest in technology. That was another thing that our old organisation didn't do too much. We had very old CRMs and very old technology. So since we set up the business, looking into the technology that was out there that could take our business to the next stage. And what we were hearing from our clients, they wanted more value add. And then iIntro provided all of that. So a lot of our clients were on top of the recruitment fee they were already paying to agencies. They were paying out separately for things like psychometric testing, video assessments. They were wasting a lot of time doing multiple stage interviews. So we were listening to the feedback our clients were giving us, and then wanting to come up with a solution to solve those issues, which we found iIntro did very well.
Okay, before you get to the intro, that part. So where was the germ when you guys decided, okay, now we're going to move and we're going to set it up? So I'm just interested in the timeline again.
I think it was about the beginning of 2020, wasn't it, Simon? Around about the January time, and then COVID hit in March, and then we decided to sit tight for a few months to see what would happen. We'd already sort of laid the foundations of what we wanted to do, and then resigned in the end of August, and then kicked off in September.
Okay, so you'd see COVID had sort of not gone, but yeah, the harshest part of it had come through, and then you decide to sort of get set up. So did you guys set up by yourself, or how did it go?
No, well, yeah. So I think previous to that, we did set up by ourselves, but we had the help of kind of a back office team. So a company called Sunblink. So we met and it was a brand new company for them as well. So we met a previous recruitment owner, which kind of you had a lot of synergies with, and kind of understood the kind of stresses and strains and pressures and expectations and what were going to be on us. But also a guy called Jason Silk, who's been fantastic as well, who's kind of got a HR background. So they really complemented Chris and I's really strong front office experience, and they kind of brought in the kind of foundations to kind of help us in what to expect in getting set up as a business.
Good. Joe?
No, that's really good. You said you were looking at technology. Interestingly, we did a couple of sessions. We did a session a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, James? And it was all about sort of recruitment tech. And I think one of the things that businesses sometimes, either when they first start out or, during COVID particularly, we all kind of panic bought platforms and technology. And there's a lot of technology out there. So how did you prevent yourselves from taking on too much tech that would just then sit there unused?
Yeah. Oh, well, there's usually sort of a roadmap when we take on technology as a business. So we start talking to organizations around 6 months prior to us actually pushing the go button, to gain as much market insight as possible, speak to a number of other recruitment companies and suppliers and trusted advisors that we have within the industry. So iIntro, one of our old colleagues, had actually used it in one of his businesses. So we went and had a morning meeting with him, and he told us all of the pros around it, and then we talked around what we were trying to achieve as a business and the sort of USP that would give us. And yeah, he recommended that as well. So yeah, there's a 6 month roadmap. We talked to Plumman. He was trying to sell us the dream. And then then you did a number of demos. We spoke to you, James. So we spoke to a number of different stakeholders within iIntro before pressing the go button. Before making that decision. We don't tend to rush into decisions around tech stacks, but yeah, yours was very good.
Yeah, good. Well, listen, we're obviously pleased to hear that one. I think what I'm also interested in is obviously, when you're going through that decision-making process, I mean, it's looking at where, and I think it comes back to your vision and values for your own business, because what you said is your clients were looking to sort of, have added value. Now that's a very generic term, added value. So I'm saying, what does that actually mean? And I think, and I've had this conversation with you before, so I sort of know some of this answers, but I'm just trying to sort of set it up so that you can sort of knock it out of the park, so to speak. It was about that transitioning from, having a look at the way that you do work, the way that you'll work in recruitment initially, which is all predominantly contingent recruitment, sort of that particular marketplace where we go out there, win work. And, when I remember you sort of saying to me that, the work that you're doing, which was retained, which is around about 5%, because that's the headline of today's writing. And I think, Chris, you said when we spoke that actually that was when clients just said to you, I'd like to work retained. It wasn't because you sold retained, it's because the clients asked you for retained. So of course, why wouldn't you take the money? So what we were trying to do is, I suppose, help you transition and make that journey from actually not it happening by accident or without cause, but actually making it a part of your strategy to go out there and do better work. So how did that sort of fit in?
We knew how a number of our competitors worked, and we knew there was a gap within the executive search area within our niche, because the way they were doing executive search was just to do the free installments, but they weren't actually providing any value add. So adding a platform. So if you're just saying, "Oh, we'll just do the search for you. We'll just go out, get the best candidates, and just deliver them to you," without them knowing if they actually were a fit for their organisation, providing them that very long replacement term of up to 12 months works very well with our clients as well, because obviously you want to provide a good retention on the employee that you place with them. So that worked out well. Anything else, Simon, that you thought?
Yeah, I think as well. I think you touched on it when you were during the training as well, which was really important. I think about what's changed for the client over the years. I think internal in recruitment companies, a lot's changed. CRMs have got better. LinkedIn Recruiter is fantastic. There's all these job boards, but the actual experience of the client hasn't changed. They get a CV sent by an email with a cover letter. That's not changed for 20 years, probably. I don't know. It's beyond my time. But I think actually seeing that there was some sort of transparency and almost something tangible. Exactly. We spent the same time then, Chris. We've been working together too long. But
you guys should start a business together. You're so
something actually tangible that they can hold. And that's when the experience, recruiters just look so internally all the time. And I think when you looked at it kind of externally and think, well, how can it improve the experience for our clients? That was a game changer.
Yeah, we took the client's perspective and then worked back from there rather than from our perspective of trying to get payment up front. So obviously, well, it was the best thing ever to get a payment up front, but it was all about us rather than the client. So working back from there, understanding what they wanted, how we could make the service better for them, and how they could get a candidate that was going to provide them longevity. And if it didn't, which obviously it does, there is obviously a safety net there with the product.
Yeah, and with the training, I mean, what you mentioned on the training, because obviously one of those things is we've all done this, and again, I think I shared with my experiences of, when I'd sold retained first time around, it was pretty much like you, Chris. Somebody said, well, what's your retainer? I'm thinking, oh, I was just going to charge you at the end. You come up with a number and something, and it's because we all sit there and we think we all want to, understand how can you transition your business from a contingent recruitment to a consultative recruitment process, retained recruitment process, but who's going to help me on that journey? So I think when you look at a tech stack, that was one of those things. Technology is an enabler. I think part of it is to say the input that you guys were prepared to take yourselves, to put yourself through a journey that was not necessarily the most straightforward one, but actually to learn something different. Because when you've been doing something for 10 years, you pretty much know what you're doing. And when somebody says there's a different way, we can show you the promised land, but you've got to take some different steps. So again, what was your reaction to that one?
Yeah, I think the experience is quite different for other people, because what I sometimes speak when I spoke to other people is like, you've got people that come from executive search firms. They kind of know this, they know the language, they have the training. That's literally what they're trained like from day one. I think when Chris and I started the business, we could have very, very easily done what we have always done, and we would have been successful because what we did before was successful. But there's a massive need for evolution in recruitment, and we strongly believe that. Chris and I, sounds like a cliche, but we constantly think about how we can improve, how we can get better, and we test our employees out, and also thinking about how we can improve our clients' experience as well. So I think when we stepped back and thought about, well, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to be swimming around in the same sort of circles. I remember the terms that we had agreed. So in a previous client's employer's terms, which I won't go into too much detail, they were non-exclusive contingent terms. That was it. Non-exclusive contingent terms are the worst terms and commitment you can have in recruitment, but that's what you started with. So we were like, look, we need to go back. We need to look at the best type of relationship and commitment you can have. And the best you're going to get out of your recruiter is by paying up front and paying flat time. And in return, you should, and if you're like us, you get a lot more in return. So let's start there. Let's start with the retained terms, retained agreement, all exclusive. And if we do that, we can't do what we've always done. It's not going to work. It's not going to feel the same. There's a different type of recruitment. So like Chris said, we got involved in we luckily and fortunately over a few years have built up a great network of recruiters, and they've gone on to lead recruitment businesses. We were really keen to get out to have meetings with people, see what they do, how do they do things differently, what's their kind of pitch, what do they offer that's different, and where can we in our own mind fit into this within our client base, which we know from our competitors and things like that hasn't changed for many, many years. So that's when it really started, and that's when things just started to all add up and make a bit of sense.
I think that's great. I love the way that you talk about it with such passion as well. And you absolutely agree with you, I think. And a lot of recruiters, I think they do. It's harder, I think. I mean, some may beg to differ, I don't know, but I think it's harder if you have been conditioned to work in a contingent environment and therefore have conditioned your clients to work in a contingent manner as well, that it can be very difficult to make the transition. I mean, you guys are obviously, you were converted, you came into your business, you wanted to do it differently, you wanted to grow your business in a different way. You came on board with us iIntro, so that you had, like you said, that tangible, demonstrable platform, that way of going to your market and being able to visibly prove to them your differentiators and your value proposition. And then, of course, your business grew and you started to take on consultants who either come as new consultants with no idea about recruitment at all, or come from other businesses with these preconceived ideas of what recruitment is. So talk us through your journey about how you've scaled your business to adopt this into your culture.
Yeah, well, so I think what was really important is that it's a really interesting point you make there, because we've come from a condition contingent basis. The first 2 people we hire, they come from our old employer, right? So they're exactly like us. They're not adding that different kind of skill set, if you like, to what Chris and I came from. I think what was quite interesting is that when we looked at it and we thought about kind of one of the promises that we made, as Chris touched on earlier, is one of those is people. So we wanted to have kind of some best-in-class training, which is why we use you, Joe, as well. And in our time,
we're recording this, aren't we, James? Is that, we've got that bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And but what they looked at, these are successful consultants that have done really well, but also missed out on non-exclusive positions. So we wanted to look at that whole training journey and think about how can we upskill them. Chris and I never had formal training on executive search, on retained search, and all those sort of things. So I think when that was presented as going, okay, well, here's a journey. It's an 8-week course. It's over 4 different weeks. And I think that the problem which you had with other programs and other technology is it's kind of, here's your introduction, here's a video introduction, you got an hour session, off you go, and there's no aftermarket, there's no implementation, there's none of that kind of consolidation of training. So we now talk about, to every single person we interview with, we tell them that this is going to be your journey. One of those sort of things is going to be your basics of kind of learning recruitment, but we've got this great kind of retained search, kind of, great product executive intelligence, which is obviously our name for iIntro. We really bring that into their early journey, so it's absolutely part of their development plan. And I think from an experienced recruiter, as much as it has been a new recruiter as part of that scaling, that experienced recruiter that we've seen come in have really kind of gone, this is going to make me much better, and higher fees, better clients, better circumstances.
And most people that we employ obviously want to become better, and then them having that training is only going to make them a better recruiter. So it's not just about selling executive search with your training. I think you really show them some strong principles about how to just do recruitment as a whole, and how to speak to clients and how to position yourself. The questions you should be asking to try and find those pain points, which we were never really taught either. So I think that's a big plus on top of the fact that you're trying to sell executive search.
I think that's a great point, actually.
Yeah, I think one of the things you said there, Chris, is when we sold it in the past, we just sold it because it's there, and you just try and fudge it. You don't have any sort of structure behind that, and I know that when you're sort of trying to bring members into your team, again, when particularly bringing experienced or semi-experienced recruiters in, again, they've already got their bad habits. They've got their process. They've been conditioned, as we said, conditioned contingent. I like that phrase, Simon. I'm going to use that one. Conditioned contingent. They're already there. So you have to sort of change their mindset and help them understand. And I think what you've got is, because you've got a set of values in your business, and this comes back to you setting up your business. That's what people are looking at. What are you doing differently? You're very focused. You're niche. Yeah, and for those people listening in America, I love that phrase. I think I told you this guys before. The Americans say niche, but we say niche. But they say the riches are in the niches. So I think that's a really good one to sort of say you're very focused on that. When you have a strategy, you have values in your business, and you live and breathe by them. I think therefore the culture of your business is all about how can we help our clients become better? How can we help our candidates get to the next role? How can we be better people? And there's a lot of altruism in that comes out. But I think it's really important that comes out in your business. And we've been delighted to be part of that journey. But inevitably, by being part of your journey, when people join, there's always that, you said there was a 6-month window, Chris, when you're doing your research, which sounds like quite a long time, but obviously you had a lot of time on your hands at that particular moment anyway. But what reservations did you have, or did you have any fears or trepidations that, because when you make a decision to invest in doing business in a new way, which is a move from the norm, what reservations did you have from yourselves or your colleagues who you're bringing into the business?
Yeah, I think, well, especially when you're a new business, every penny counts, right? So if you're going to invest something,
Yeah.
you've got to see the return on it. So Chris and I were really conscious about one of the 3 Ps I'm going to refer to again is that people, planet, profit. That now falls into the profit area. So what do we do with our profits and how do we reinvest that to upscale our business, to improve our processes, our system and training and things like that. So there was a lot of value return from the people pillar that we're looking for. If we looked at something like our intro, the difficulty that we had, and we have to use our profits to invest in those areas, the difficulty we had is how many people are going to really pick this up from an existing recruiter that have existing ways, existing habits, that have been successful in doing what they need to do. It's easy for Chris and I as owners out there and have this kind of idealistic view that everybody needs to change their habits and work this way, and the outcomes will be better. That's not the reality. So I think the big concern that I raised very much early on, me and Chris had to really talk about, is like, what if 6 months down the line we've invested, this sum of money from our profits to improve our business, improve our processes in our mind, and people just aren't talking about it. They're not pitching it. They're not adapting to it because they've got a way of working. That was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, the adaptation really, because looking at the financials, if you pick up one retainer, the product basically pays for itself, or no, a few retainers, you're doing well. So that was never in question. Value for money for the product, I think, is spot on. It's just the adaptation from the existing employees and the potential employees that you're going to hire, that everyone's on board with it and everyone's pitching it and everyone's using it, and it's ingrained in your company sort of DNA.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've spoken a little bit about the training side, but from that point of view, I know we've got a lot of clients who are probably, they have the same reservations, either because they've already got a team or because they're wanting to build their team. And of course, in order, like you said, for this to be sustainable, it has to be scalable. There has to be something in place in your business that helps new people when they come on board to be able to adopt this into the business. So what sort of things would you advise other businesses to do if they were going to take iIntro on board that might help them to just improve the adoption of it in their business with their existing staff, maybe?
Well, if you take the recruiter out of this, making sure that the marketing team are on board and you're really pushing the marketing as a company also. So we used to do a lot of brainstorming as a business around how to pitch this to our clients, whether that be through sort of an email campaign and what would go in the email campaign, working with the marketing team to create a really impressive brochure when we're pitching this. So yeah, coming together collaboratively to work on that helped massively.
I think also identifying those companies that you kind of got those existing relationships with, that you're looking at, you're thinking, how can I make this relationship better? How can I give them more? How can I add more value when there's 1,000 competitors kind of swarming around at any one time? And I think if you select we had a very good strategy around kind of knowing which companies that we want to introduce this to as a first kind of 10 to 15 to demo that. So I think that was really, really key. But you've got to talk about it all the time. Yeah. You've really got to, honestly, I think Chris nailed it there with the marketing, not just externally, but internally, the internal communications as well, constant feedback. And I think
we have a champion as well, don't we? Who champions it. So one of our employees, he's the champion for iIntro. He owns that, so he really pushes it. He's the go-to around training, around tips. When we get together for process improvement sessions, he's gives all of his knowledge because he's won the most retainers off of it. So he's sharing his best practices. That's crucial.
Yeah,
that's great.
Which is excellent. It was excellent. Yeah, it's having that product champion, and I think also in terms of one of the things you also do for people joining your business. I think most people when they jump from one recruitment firm to another, you turn up on day one and say, "Where's my desk?" and they're just expected to get on with it. But at least you have something where you say, "Okay, this is our process, this is our structure." And unless I call it iIntro because that's our name, but your system. It's called Executive Intelligence because you've actually taken that and sharing to your clients. This is what we do. We don't just provide recruitment. We don't just provide candidate selection. Our whole view is to focus on helping you make a more informed hiring decision so that your employees stay with you longer term. And if they stay with you longer term, it's a great investment in terms of asking us to sort of do that recruitment for you. And again, you've got your own differentiators in terms of how you help them sort of differentiate why they should choose you over another executive search firm or why they should choose you over any other executive firm, recruitment firm who are just trying to sort of peddle CVs in many ways. So I think you guys have done a great job of doing that. And the expression I really like, Chris, is when you said, and you sort of touched on it as well, Simon, is it's bringing it into the DNA of your business. Yeah. So what you've enabled your business to do is say, okay, by sort of taking those strategic, high-level positions, and then bringing that down into the tactical sense. You've said, okay, this is what we want to do. Now, what really impressed us is, you've not moved your business, because your business has grown into this, but you've changed the way you do work from your life pre executive integrity to the way that you do it. And so now, you've got 50%. And sometimes people say, oh, you're looking to do all of your business, 100% retained. And I know that's not your objective, because the way your team is spread out. So why don't you talk to us about how you've gone from, 0 or 5% up to 50%, and what are your aspirations from here on in? Because you talked about return on investment, which is a really important feature as well, but where do you want to get to, and what's your strands of business that you're focused in on?
Yeah, sorry, if you want to touch on the 0 to 50, and then I'll talk about the strategy moving forward.
Yeah, sure. So the 0 to 50 really are going back to kind of identifying those companies that are really going to benefit from it. Chris is, and this is going to be something people can relate to. When we first kind of had our first kind of introduction to our intro, the first thing I did is had a meeting, and I literally just went into the meeting and I just stormed at them, did this demo, said you need to take this is brilliant. This is a company I worked with for 10 years, and I literally spent half an hour just telling them all about it, showing this demonstration. Chris was on the call with me, and they just went, Simon, I just don't think we need it. And this is a bit much for us. So the first thing we learned is that it's not for everybody. So that's fine. So I think around kind of getting to the 0 to 50 is really kind of adapting our kind of sales calls and our client calls. That fact find, which we always do, is really identify what they need. I think where to lean on really where I found it fantastic is one of the things that where it's helped Chris and I, and matched our kind of when we set up the company and thought, what do we need to do that's different? Well, there was a phrase which was used. You won't have to kind of look hard to find where that phrase was used to me previously. And when somebody left after their rebate period, they was dismissive. There's this name with recruiters out there where they don't take accountability when things go wrong, and they were called. And the phrase that was used was that we're recruitment specialists, not retention specialists. And I hated that. I was like, we've got a responsibility to identify the right talent and make sure that talent stays there. So I think once we kind of knew that matches our values, because we actually have 110% rebate for that exact reason, we want promises in place that kind of give our clients reassurance that we want to get the right person and keep them with your business long term. So I think from the 5 to 50%, we thought, okay, we've got people that like us and know us. Who can we identify to do the demonstrations with to really kind of bring that to light? That it's not just about getting more money. It's not about getting more money up front. It's about saving you time long term. It's about kind of having candidates that stay with you much longer than they currently do. And then really kind of implementing, I think what Chris said there, we've been very, very fortunate, and we've got some great people that work for us, and they adapted it, they picked it up, and they're out there demonstrating it and they're championing it every single day. But really it started off like, don't try and do something brand new. Yes, bring it up and all those sort of things. Who are you working with at the moment that will listen to you, that will take a call, that will give you an hour of their time, that you can say, look, you're going to like this. Give me a half an hour of your time. Let me demonstrate it. So most of it was originally from existing clients, existing companies that we work with. And then when we brought it into identifying where our next company was, it was quite simple, to be honest with you. We knew where our competitors do and what we could do better.
Yeah. And we won a lot of executive search business off that, but then we also won a managed service agreement, which has been really good for us and the client. So we're transitioning. So moving forward, we want to have a third of executive search business, keep a third of contingency, because that will never leave our business, and then a third of our new product that we're launching called RAS, which is Recruitment as a Service. But that's all built around the platform that Executive Intelligence, our intro, create. So all of our clients who sign up to the RAS model, which will be a subscription service, so they pay a set fee each month. They get a number of credits throughout the year that they can use on placements. Will get access to the Executive Intelligence platform, which will give them the video introductions, the video assessments, the McQuaid testing, and then we can build that around the client depending on what they want. But that's the foundations of that. And we've also won just contingent searches, exclusive contingent searches, by pitching the platform. So it doesn't all have to be executive search. When we know we're coming up and pitching against other contingent businesses that aren't offering that service, and we can throw that in for free and just get that work exclusively on sort of director level roles, then why not? So that's worked really well for us. We haven't just focused and said, this just needs to be executive search. We've tried to evolve the product and then provide different products off the back of that.
I think that's great. It
Well-
sounds really exciting, and I love the fact that, as you said, that evolution is key, isn't it? And not fitting retained search into this box, this typical box that we have. I think, being very agile about how you build this in a client-centric way. So no, I think that's great. Are we out of time, James? We could stay here all day.
Well,
I genuinely could stay here all day.
But listen, I just want to say thank you, guys. I mean, what we've really done today is you've shared your story in terms of how you've grown and developed your business over the last couple of years, how you've transitioned from doing next to no retained recruitment work, but now having it as a strong part of your strategy going forward. You've identified, other elements in terms of recruitment as a service, saying that contingent's there. You've built into your DNA. You've got a great training service that you can offer to new employees who join your business. I hope any recruiter in your market space looking to sort of make a move, maybe they'll get in contact with you. So really appreciate the way you've done it today. You've been a fantastic advocate of ours. We've loved working with you and looking forward to working with you over the coming years as well. So thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, Joe, that's me. So I want to say goodbye from me, Simon and Chris.
No, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you, guys. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, and from me, guys, as well. Thank you so much. And I'm sure everybody who's listening and watching this will have taken a lot from it. I think it's been really insightful. So thank you very much. And we look forward to having you on. We want you on again in 12 months' time, and then in 12 months' time after that for updates.
Yeah, be a pleasure.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And so it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yo.